Hi everyone. We had a bit of a technical glitch, at the beginning in terms of sharing, my screen, um, in the practice session. Can anyone tell me, in the, I think the Q&A box, the chat is disabled, but in the Q&A box, can you post if you're able to see my screen? Okay. Okay. I guess we'll have to have one of our internal team members share the screen, share the webinar. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Can everyone see the screen now? Okay, great. Lots of people have said yes. Brilliant. Okay, brilliant. Okay, we're just going to give this maybe another minute and we are going to get started because we have a lot of material to cover today. Okay. I think thank you for everyone, who's joined. The fact that you're taking time out on a Saturday evening does seem that, that it does mean to me that, you're very serious about your MBA applications. And I'm very happy to do this, again, and I hope I'm able to provide a lot of good information that, you're able to apply in your, in your MBA applications for fall 2022. All right. Okay, I guess let's get started. So everyone, welcome to part two in the MBA workshop series for 2022 hosted by the Red Pen. Today we're going to be speaking about school research, right? Business school research. Time and again, we get inquiries from applicants around the world asking us as to what schools do you think I should apply? Where should I go? Some of you are obviously very aware and you have some broad list to work with. Some of you are very blank and some of you are very clear that these are the only schools that I'll apply. So we are everywhere in between. But I did feel that doing this session to kind of provide some tools and frameworks to get you start thinking about what factors you should consider when you're looking for a business school, because this is an expensive investment in your personal as well as your professional life. Okay. This is the second part in our webinar series. For those of you who missed the first one, we covered, some really good test prep strategies. For those of you who are still giving the standardized test, go to our YouTube channel and you will find that webinar over there. Again, amazing information in that one based on the feedback that we receive. So do that, okay? All right, let's go to the next slide. Before we sort of just dive right in, I just wanted to share a little bit about Team MBA at the Red Pen. We are a global team with international admissions experience. As you see, our consultants have received their MBA from this is a representative list of schools. We also have our current and past admissions officers on our team, and we use a very team-based collaborative approach, mirroring the approach which is used by admissions officers, where more than one person really looks at your application. Okay, and our team is global, across the world, because we do work with applicants around the world. These are some of the statistics from the last admission cycle. If we move on to the next slide. Can we go to the next slide? All right, in the next two slides, basically, we are going to speak about, some of our admits in the last two admission cycle. Primarily, we, work with MBA, applicants who want to apply to the representative set of schools, very It's a very small pool of schools, but again, a very, very competitive pool. These are the admits, final admits that our students received from in the year 2020, 2021. And the next slide will, provide this similar logo for this school. Basically, top 25 schools across US and Europe is basically what our strength basically lies in. The next slide. All right. Now, this is, one of my favorite slides. And I think for those of you who have regularly attended my webinars, I use this slide particularly, across most of my presentations. This is the base of your MBA application. And as you'll see, admissions officers are basically looking to evaluate all these components across different application components. So academic potential, work experience, short-term and long-term goals post-MBA, demonstrated leadership, extracurricular activities, and you're fit with a particular program, right? And they are looking to assess this across essays, letters of recommendations, resume, application form, and the interview. Now, one quick point that I want to make over here is many schools are getting rid of the long-term goals. They do understand that increasingly, when students come to campus, they do want to explore what the program can offer, and there are just so many things that an MBA program will offer in terms of career choices. They are not delusional to the fact that many people may say that they want to have a particular career, and that may not happen. However, do remember, and this is just a small thing I want to say about goals, because this will be very important in your research. Schools are still very much assessing your short-term goals. Now, why are they doing it? They are doing it because you may come to campus and you can again change your goals, right? So by assessing short-term goals, even if they assess your recruitability, how will that change? So the way this makes a difference to a business school is they are trying to assess, can you be recruited within 3 months after the graduation, right? So if you are attending their business school, given your resume, so current education and experience, plus the resources that will be provided by that school, can you get recruited? Can they put you in front of a corporate recruiter? If your pitch makes sense to them, they are assessing that probably this is going to make sense to a corporate recruiter. So in the worst case situation that this person comes to campus and even changes their goals to completely, a different trajectory or track, they still, and they do not get a job, they still have a fallback option. I hope I'm making sense, right? So this is how the assessment is done. So short-term goals still make a lot of sense, okay? Now, what we're going to do in this webinar is basically look at the bottom, pieces: academic potential, work experience, goals, demonstrated leadership, and extracurricular activities, how these club together to assess, your fit for a particular business program. All right, let's move to the next slide. All right, these are some of the key milestones for 2022 applications that we put together. And, I still see a small black, I think, window on top. I don't know if anyone else does. If you don't, then you can take a screen grab of this as well. But the recording of this, by the way, will be available. All right. So these are some of the key milestones, to kind of just help you gauge where you are in your application journey. For those of you who have studied for competitive exams, this is very much like that. You cannot start too early. You cannot start too late. You have to start bang on time. By now, of course, you should have, completed your standardized tests. And, this is the part that we're going to focus on right now, is the business school research and shortlist. All right. Okay. Next slide. And guys, please keep your questions coming in as and when you have them, so that I can take them as an once the webinar is done. Now, why do people pursue an MBA? Now, common reasons to pursue an MBA are, and these are reasons you can actually authentically write in your application. Okay, these are plausible reasons why people go to business school. Leadership or personal development, right? You're sitting in a class of extremely bright, accomplished people, and it's the community that's going to make your business school experience really enriching. So the professor, in most cases, is going to channelize the discussion in a class in certain ways, so that the learning basically happens through transformation and not exactly by just telling you that this is how a business is run, right? So these is can we go to the previous slide? I think we just jump slides. Yeah, why MBA? So this is leadership and personal development is a good enough reason to go to business school. Career acceleration, of course. If you want to accelerate your career, you can rise through the ranks and reach a certain position in the organization. But for the most part, we want to get there sooner. We want to get there faster. So for acceleration purposes, an MBA will give you the tools and frameworks and cutting edge research in the world of business that you can implement in your dream role. Career transition, for sure. About career transition, I do want to mention that there is a term called as MBA triple jumper. Okay, who is an MBA triple jumper? An MBA triple jumper who is someone who's trying to change their job role or function, their industry, and the geography, all three at the same time. Needless to say, an MBA triple jumper is definitely seen as very risky by admissions officers. That being said, they have said time and again that they are open to assessing, depending on what your experience is, what your story is, and if you're able to put in a convincing pitch. From our side, we usually say that unless you have a very good reason, go for it. Be very authentic in your application. However, if not, mostly people try to change one or two. Either they want more international experience, want to stay in the same industry, want access to global networks and stuff like that. So that's the career transition piece. Access to global and enhanced networks, of course, right? Entrepreneurial aspirations. Every school's business school for will obviously give you tools if you want to go into consulting or entrepreneurship. Global exposure, right? Many people go there because they want they want to have an international experience. Many schools give you international part of their curriculum basically includes international exposure and diversity. Courses are taken in different countries. There are international treks that students take. And the last one is financial rewards, like, right? I mean, everyone keeps talking about the return on investment for an MBA, but there are numerous studies, and you can go online and really see this, that an MBA over a period of time definitely makes a lot more, in their career financially, as per statistics. All right, moving on. These are some of the types of MBA programs, okay? And the reason I'm sharing this is because you should think about these different types to really understand what format might suit you best. If you're researching schools, do understand that many schools also offer multiple programs, right? So understand what format works for you. For example, this is a standard list. Of course, everyone knows part-time and executive and 2 year and 1 year and everything. I just wanted to highlight that for those of you who are experienced professionals, you should look at, if you want a full-time residential program, you should look at the Stanford MSX program or the Sloan Fellows program at LBS and MIT. However, if you prefer a non-residential, that you want to continue working and you want to continue studying, then the executive MBA and the global executive MBA makes sense. In that sense, let's say if you're in India and you're like, okay, I want to also do an executive MBA from a global program, but how can I do that? Because I can't leave my job. My job is over here. So consider the global executive MBA format. An example here is Duke Fuqua's executive MBA, global executive MBA program. They have an exec MBA and a global exec MBA. The global exec MBA basically, there are classes which are held every quarter, and then you go back to your home country, and then there are virtual classes in between, and you submit assignments. So it's a great hybrid model. And if you have an employer, who's completely in your corner, this is something you can pitch, for an accelerated career. So think about some of these programs. Another program I want to highlight is the Tech MBA program. For those of you who want to stay in tech, who want to return to work faster, who have, let's say, a product, you want to, just go and get the necessary tools to understand the business side of things, have access to funding, look at Tech MBA programs offered by NYU Stern, Cornell, and Kellogg, okay? The industry focus is primarily tech. If you want a broader experience, of course, a general program makes sense. All right, let's move to the next slide. Okay, now shortlisting dream, target, and safety schools. So how do you really go about doing this? Now there are 2 steps in this. Step one over here is self-reflection, okay? What we do, here, and most international consultants work in that way. They will basically send you, we send you a questionnaire, a really long questionnaire, which has been put together, by the way, very, very thoughtfully. It took us months to kind of just you put that together in a very thorough manner. Plus, we have taken material and information across business schools. So we put that questionnaire together and we'll be sending that to you, and based on your information, we are trained to assess that questionnaire through, identifying patterns across early childhood, school, college, and career experiences through self-reflection, right? Our line of questioning that we pursue is in a certain way that enables us to gain some insights into your journey, parts of which could be meaningful for a business school application. Now, how do you understand yourself to build an authentic narrative? Now, here is a representative list of questions that I put together. But in my experience, working with a career coach might help you. And nowadays, that's not very difficult. Maybe a couple of years back, there have been, few career coaches around, but now there are more career coaches. And, working with someone to truly, deeply reflect and understand what is it that who you truly are, what's your leadership brand like, how are you going to, why does MBA really matter to you? Asking these questions and understanding your career path will really help you. That's step number one. Okay, so you have clarity about where you are right now and where you're basically going, right? There are some exercises that we use to unearth your core values, and many schools, for example, Kellogg asks the question about there's a values question, which is a direct question at Kellogg, and other schools may ask it in a very indirect manner. But how do you know what are your values, right? So we do a values exercise, and but it doesn't stop there. I attended the AGAC conference. So the Red Pen is a member of the Association of International Graduate Admissions Consultants. I am actually a volunteer on the conference committee of AGAC, and the AGAC conference happened from 3rd to 5th of May. This year it was virtual, but we got an opportunity to talk to many business schools and ask questions of them. One thing I heard repeatedly was, of course, everyone knows show, don't tell. Everyone knows that. But what we heard is, use evidence and not emotion in your essays. Okay. While it may, be uncomfortable for some of you to keep your essays very factual, you can bring the emotional element, do that. But without naming anyone, what we heard is the word passion really doesn't make any sense. If 75 people write that they're passionate about X particular things, how is the admissions officer supposed to evaluate that, right? How can they tell one person's passion over the other? Two applicants are going neck to neck. They cannot pick one just because someone said they're very passionate about it and someone else did not. Use evidence, right? So when we ask about what's your leadership brand, what's your core values, think about how can you substantiate that with an example, right? So if you're, let's say you're not working with a consultant, you're doing this on your own, these are some of the basic questions that you can get started with. And this is still a very good list. Okay. And if you're able to substantiate this with an example, right? Think about the strength of the example also. Get someone from your family, friends to kind of just read this and ask them that, what comes across to you. Fuqua's 25 random things, these I'm sharing essays and school examples because at the end of the day, this is what school research is about. So Fuqua, in their essay, 25 random things, one of the guidelines that they give is, ask your friends and family, what do you think is interesting about me, right? You may be surprised. Schools like Stern will also ask, their focus on EQ is very high throughout their application, all the application components. They have an extra question in the LOR, that they will ask your recommender about your EQ. So make sure that you can back these questions up with examples. My favorite question is, what problem are you trying to solve in society using business? Why? Because when you talk about your post-MBA goals, if everyone says that they want to go into consulting or private equity, of course, you may not be in that pool, but I'm just saying, then it's very difficult to understand what's the motivation. Remember that you're making an extremely expensive investment, right? Schools want to know, how are you thinking? Are you right for the community? Are they right for you, right? It has to be a match both ways, because at the end of the day, they want you succeeding on campus, right? So use some of these, questions to build an authentic narrative. And if no one, just see if you want to work with a career coach to at least unearth some things about your career path and career goals. All right, next slide, please. Okay, the step now, second step is school research criteria, and on the next slide we will definitely be coming up with, I will give you some factors to consider across this, because this is a list probably many of you have probably seen on in some version or the other, online or wherever. But have a list ready. Okay, when you are another thing I wanted to talk about is dream, target, and safety schools. Sorry, I did not explain that on the earlier side. As the name suggests, dream schools are dream schools that, it's your dream maybe to get into Harvard or a Stanford or a Wharton or a Columbia. Target, based on your profile. Target is, where your profile is exactly at. And when we say target, it's not just your GMAT score, it's other things as well. Okay. And safety schools. Safety schools is schools where, they're safe. Given your profile, let's say, and I'm just taking GMAT as an example. If the average GMAT of the class is, let's say, 730, and you have a 740, then a school which has a 730 average GMAT is a safe school. That being said, do not, this is just an example and it's just a very broad brush stroke. Do not consider the GMAT and the average GMATs which are only on the school website. Remember one thing, that GMAT and GRE tests are compared region wise. Okay, for an Indian applicant, if you have a quant score of less than 48, it's not advisable. Ideally, especially if you're in an overrepresented population of Indian male engineer or Indian male / woman, but in investment banking or corporate finance or big four firms or consulting firms, in that case, do understand that schools will be compared. The average GMAT for an Indian applicant is way higher. Okay, do remember that. So that's not just one data point. It was just a very simple example, but we basically help you select dream, target, and safety schools. So if after this call any one of you wants to reach out to us, if you have a school list ready and want to kind of understand how do I differentiate it, it's better I can do that on a one-on-one basis, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there. So I want to go through this list a little in detail on the next slide. So if we can go on the next slide. Okay. Now this is a very busy slide, but I will try my best to do as much justice as I can to it. You can take a screen grab, but this is my attempt to at least, break down some factors that you can consider for each of the criteria, which I outlined in the slide earlier. And these are just some factors. Okay, this is not a comprehensive list, but this is a framework which is meant to provide you with a tool to kind of, as you research, what do you think about? Let's say culture and values, right? What are the factors that you consider when you consider culture / values of a particular program? You will consider its location, right? Obviously the program will be influenced by the location, the city, the country that they are. Alumni networks, right? Is it focused majorly on domestic applicants, right, with a small, let's say 30% of the pool which is international, or is it the other way around, like a school like NCR? Class profile and diversity, and lifestyle considerations, right? If you're living in a larger city like New York, lifestyle considerations are very different. It's a very hustler kind of a culture in New York as compared to a nice quaint suburban town. Location, depends on the choice of country. Again, do your research. Think about what excites you. What do you feel really excited about? Sometimes it's influenced by family, by friends, peer experiences. But do take into consideration your post MBA goals and opportunities, right? Which is why I feel that earlier step of self-reflection, understanding your career paths, why an MBA, understanding those things are very, very key. Because the more self-aware you are and the more clear you are, the easier you will be able to sift through this list and consider these factors to shortlist your schools. Cost, of course. Cost, I think it's not just the ability to invest, but also the willingness to, because it's an expensive program. And it's also the lost opportunity of the job that you will not be doing during those years on campus. And scholarships, fellowships, fundings which are available. We do have a list of scholarships that are available. If you just drop us as an email, I'll just share the email address at the end, then I can share that list of scholarships. Those are external scholarships, by the way. Do remember that schools have their own scholarships, and applying, let's say in round one, increases your chances of getting a scholarship. Applying to safety schools increases your chances of a scholarship because your inherent profile and the application is stronger than the average applicant pool. Those are the two things. Schools like Ross, Fuqua are very generous with scholarships, and with some other schools, after you are admitted to the school, you can work with the financial aid office to see if any fellowships or scholarships are available. Duration of the program, it depends if you are, transitioning a career, going back to that term, MBA triple jumper, if you are changing 2 or 3 variables, then, you may require a longer duration program that allows you to experiment, right? It gives you that much more time while you are in the program to network and find an internship and get your foot in the door in that new field that you want to. Cost is again a factor for duration, no brainer there. Post MBA goals, again, opportunity cost of the job opportunity, like I mentioned. Curriculum, understand whether it is an exclusively case study or a combination of case and lecture format. For example, Harvard is completely case study. You'd also consider if, what are the subjects that they focus, on. Some schools are more known for, finance, let's say Booth, purely because of their faculty. And that's where we come to the faculty and the research point that, if you, based on your certain post MBA goals, if certain schools have certain faculty and, certain, subjects in the curriculum, which are heavily focused towards one industry / job role / geography over the other, then that might draw you to that particular program more than the others, right? Again, format, core courses, specializations, concentration. Do they allow a concentration, or is it like, for example, Columbia, you only do a core curriculum, which is mandatory across 2 semesters, and then you can choose across 100 electives. You don't get like an MBA in finance or MBA in HR or whatever. The other aspect is, on the other hand, there's a school like Booth, right, where just one course, the lead course, is compulsory. Everything else is, for you to choose and for you to build your curriculum. So understand the format and make sure that, if you, let's say you're applying to a school like Booth, do show that why that flexibility matters to you. That should be evident from the kind of choices that you've made regarding your education and your work experiences in the past. Okay. Employment reports, again, based on your post MBA goals, do look at some top industries and companies that hire from this particular school. Those statistics will matter. Today, we have access to LinkedIn. We have access to information at the click of a button. So, it's there is no need for us to kind of say that, we don't have information, right? Internship opportunities. Some schools like Columbia provide in-semester internships. So number of permitted internships. A school like Stanford may not allow that. Not only they don't allow in-semester internships, but they, I believe that up to a certain point, they don't even encourage working on your startups and everything until the core courses and everything are over, because it does affect your grades, and no one wants to kind of have an unsuccessful student or someone who's on an academic probation. So that's highly discouraged at some schools, right? Class diversity, percentage of international students. Ross has 75% international students, which might be very attractive for some of you who are considering that increases your chances of acceptance. On the other hand, a school like Harvard Business School has 37% international student body, of which, the Indian pool is going to be even smaller. Gender diversity, professional diversity, right? Alumni network and benefits. This is one thing I don't see many people doing as much research as I would really like them to do. You do have to understand that after 2 years, like once that MBA dream is fulfilled, you go to business school, then you're done, right? You want to make sure that you're going to be able to reap benefits, over your life. For example, at Columbia, because I'm just sharing a lot of Columbia examples because I went there. Columbia allows you to have a lifetime auditing feature. You can audit courses for life. Tomorrow, if I'm visiting New York and I just go through what are the courses which are happening on campus, if I request, the professor who's taking the classes, may I just sit in the class, I am allowed to do that. Even though I'm a past student, I can go and sit in the class and I can audit that course. All right. That's that's sort of a broad framework, and like I said, this recording will be available. You can screen grab this later as well. Hopefully this gives you a framework to think about, right? Now, research methods. Now, how do you research? Where do you start? So one is obviously a no-brainer: review school websites and social media channels, including YouTube channels. I am a huge fan of YouTube channels. Why? Because you can see, that's the closest in the virtual world where you come to see something, come real, in front of your eyes. So I would strongly recommend you to review YouTube channels of some of the schools. Schools like Yale and Stanford actually do a very good job of even providing prospective applicants tools and methods of how to kind of go about building your application. They do that as well, right? So I would strongly recommend you do that. Instead of following one particular school on multiple media channels, you can also sign up for Google Alerts. Okay, you can sign up for a Google Alert for a particular school on a weekly basis. It comes in your inbox, so you have all the information. Speak with current students, alums, MBA admissions officers, and faculty. And please write the list down, right? If you have 5 schools, make a note of the names. Do it digitally, do it on a piece of paper. I don't care. But if you write that down, you will know, you will actually see what is the extent of effort that you're actually putting in. Visit schools to get a first-hand experience of the program and the vibe on campus. This is, if you are in a position to do that, I would encourage you to do that. But I would not encourage you to do this in a hurry. Oh, I'm like 2 months away from applications now, I need to know this program. That's not the way to do it. Then ideally you should start thinking about an MBA 2 years in advance. And that's when you not only take the standardized test out of the way, but you plan to at least to visit programs if you are going. That being said, many through COVID, thankfully many schools have started virtual campus tours. So that would come as close to, but talking to current students and alums, I think, gives you a lot of comfort. And do attend all the information sessions that schools are conducting. And they will start soon now as applications open, as we are entering the month of June. So be on the lookout for that. If you're working with us, for our applicants, we are already sharing that. But if you're on your own, do sign up on that website and do that, okay? Okay, this is a representative list of questions to ask, current students and alums. And again, you can take a screen grab of this. This is just a representative list of questions. You can formulate your own questions. Do make sure that, the question makes sense, okay? Because this is, at the end of the day, it's a recruiting process. Assume that, you want a job at Google, right? How would you go about it, right? We would probably try to get to know what Google is about, right? There should be better reasons for you to apply to Google rather than saying that they have unlimited holidays and free food, right? So we need to approach this exercise in a similar manner. You would try to get to know the school and see that if you are putting in your application, how is that going to be viewed? How are you going to be perceived? How do you want to project yourself? And that's what you're required to do even as a business leader, which is why business schools are assessing you on that front, right? So tomorrow you are, going to be a business leader trying to solve these complex problems in society, heading large organizations. How would you portray yourself? How would you project yourself? So this list of questions, make sure you have a list of questions accordingly. My most favorite question on this list is the first question. Why did you choose the school, right? And the second question is obviously the second most favorite, that what surprised you about this school that you were not aware of before that you started on campus. Between these two questions, you should get a lot of information, okay? Do note that information down. Keep a notebook, a digital notebook, whatever it is, and write things that multiple people tell you, right? If the same pattern is kind of evolving over and over again, chances are that's what the school is basically about, right? And now, you can go on LinkedIn, you can see someone's profile, you can see their backgrounds. Don't be fooled by saying that, oh, so-and-so, just has so-and-so on their LinkedIn and, they got in, so maybe I also get in. There are obviously multiple factors behind their LinkedIn profile, which also go in an MBA application that get evaluated. But LinkedIn profile would kind of give you a broad stroke understanding of what experience this person and education had they brought to campus, and how did they make those choices, right? So do ask these questions, asking, what is campus like? What sort of networking opportunities do you have at this school? How would you advise someone who's considering applying to this program? What are the things that they should be aware of? You can also ask questions like, what are the things that you did not like about this particular school, right? I used to do that when I used to coach people in job transitions. I used to always, when I coached them for informational interviews, I used to always encourage them, if you're changing an industry or a job role, ask someone in your dream role or your dream industry, what is it about this industry or job role that you do not like? Chances are, you're so blinded by doing what you want to do that you not consider that some of the pitfalls, right? So assess a school both ways, positives, negatives. That will give you a right sense of where you are. All right, next slide. Okay, now these are some general guidelines. This is the last slide. So I will take questions. Choose fit over rankings. Now, I do want to spend a minute over here, right? Is it bad to go after brands? No, no. There is a reason why Harvard Business School is what it is, or Stanford is what it is, and so on and so forth. It's not bad to go after a brand at all, but make sure that you're worthy of the brand and the brand is worthy of you. Okay. Just slapping a brand on your resume to show someone else doesn't make sense. If you are brand conscious, if you are like, I've always had these brands on my resume and this is what I want, the brand definitely, it's not just rankings, okay? It's not just what comes in Forbes and whatever. There's definitely a lot more to it. Super high achievers are today, being admitted to Harvard and Stanford. There is a merit to it. There's no doubt about it. But make sure to understand that fit. What does that brand really mean to you? And how can you make yourself, or are you worthy of that brand also? Otherwise, you may not be making a decision with all factors into consideration. The other part is document your research. Do not rely on memory. This is something I think I already mentioned, some time back, that keep notes, maintain notes wherever possible, because it's a long, arduous process, and you don't want to kind of just rely everything on memory, right? Even this recording, if you go back and watch a recording of this video, do make notes of things that speak to your application. You will see better results in your overall application. All right. Know what business schools are looking for, right? If you're working with a consultant, that's great. So mostly consultants do know what schools are looking for, and they're able to convey that information to you, because you don't want to kind of be shooting in the dark. Let me write this, and maybe, this is what they're looking for. It doesn't make sense. Get to know the admissions officers at each of your lists. No one really thinks about this. Again, if you're applying to a Google or a Microsoft or whatever, your dream companies, you would try to get to know the people, right? At the end of the day, you're not joining a company which is just 4 walls and 2 desks, right? You are going to be joining a group of people. So the least you need to do is try to understand, who are these people who are going to be evaluating your application, try to have them in your mind when you are writing an application. So that this is a person who's going to be reading my application, and this is what, this is someone for whom I'm writing. It changes. The authors usually use this example, and I just love that. Put together a long list of 10 schools and a short list of 5 schools to apply in each round. That's a general guideline, again, to each, his own. Sometimes if you're very clear on a shorter list, that's great. And at the end, I saved the best line for the last: be authentic and follow your voice. Guys, please do that. We try, to do that in every application. We do not write essays, we do not write letters of recommendation, but the line of questioning that we use and the self-reflection tools that we give you helps you probe deeper. So any one of you on the call, if you're thinking of working with us, you need to be willing to put in the work, because that authenticity and that voice, and this is the same thing I heard from an admissions officer during the AGAC conference that happened, which I mentioned earlier in the webinar, that she said that the most successful applicants are the ones who are most invested through the entire process. And that could not be further from the truth. Year on year, when we try to decipher why A gets in and B does not, X gets in and Y does not, this trend, and pattern and theme comes up, it comes to the surface again and again. All right, so I think that's me. I think this has been a good 40 minutes. Now, this is a Q&A open session. So in the Q&A box, I see questions coming. I'm going to take that. If you just go to the next slide, of course, this also has my email address. But on the next slide, I believe, okay, we can just go on the previous one. It has my email address over here. All right, now let's take questions, okay? I will be completing, hi Tranjot, I will be completing 2-year work experience in August, and I am aiming for a MBA 2-year in September. Will I have to compromise on schools due to lesser work experience? I don't understand. So if you are aiming to enter business school in September 2023, so people usually come to us, and this is a common question I get. For international applicants, we advise 3 years of experience post undergrad. So, okay, post undergrad, 3 years of experience. So if you're a chartered accountant, it's after your chartered accountant. So the articles and or the medical internship is not really counted as work experience because you're pursuing it alongside a degree. You have to look at post undergrad work experience. Now, that being said, this is subjective. If you have been running, let's say, a large organization, since you entered college, 100 billion family enterprise, by the time I think you graduate, you already have significant amount of experience, right? Because it's your family business, you have access to so many resources, and then you can say that I don't need an additional year of experience because I'm already at a certain level. That becomes case by case, but broadly it is 3 years of experience of post undergrad that we at the time of application, not at the time when you enter business school. Okay, I wanted to know, does the average vary with professional background? Average GMAT score for India? It could. And that's a very great point, Johan, that you brought out, because what I recommend is if you're coming from non-quant backgrounds, then my advice usually is that you take the GMAT. That's what I advise. If you are coming from, that being said, your comfort with a particular test also matters a lot. So if you have, I would say, if you're more comfortable with the GRE over the GMAT, then just go for that, right? If the average GMAT score for India, I would not know what the average is, but I would say the average would be way higher. It would be definitely more than 650 for India. Close to 680 is what I would think. The least I would say for the whole country as a whole, because people are applying to multiple business schools, right? And right now I'm talking just about the top 25 schools in US and Europe. That's where our focus at the Red Pen basically is. I hope that answers your question. If not, just book an appointment with us. I take almost every call which comes in, so I can talk to you about your particular profile. Deferred MBAs have only one round of applications. Is my understanding correct? Yes, that's correct. Which school programs outside M7 are well known for finance? Outside the M7, I would say Stern. NYU Stern is known for finance. So is, so unknown to, I think many people don't know this, but Tuck, Fuqua, Haas, and Darden, the top 3 industries, where their graduates basically find placements are tech, consulting, and finance. Okay. That being said, Cornell, with a campus in upstate New York, Ithaca, also has a good, good programs in finance. Okay. So these are some of the schools outside M7. Rotman in Canada is also well known for finance. Okay. One-on-one link. Yeah. Can I have the link? Someone from my team, if you can just share a link for folks to book an appointment with us. I can just type the answer out here for everyone else. Do a lot of these considerations apply to schools in Europe as well, especially when it comes to applicant profiles and the extracurricular activities outside of work? Yes. And that's a great question, because I gave a lot of examples of US business schools, but European business school applications are very straightforward. Do they need a lot of self-reflection? Maybe not a lot, because they don't ask those kinds of questions. They don't ask what are your values and those kind of things. But their questions are so straightforward that, more or less you will still need to do that self-reflection, at least as far as your professional trajectory is concerned. Okay. I am just sharing this link over here. If you book an appointment, you can go to this link. Appointment with us. 1 second. All right. There seems to be some error. Okay, next question. When do we start researching and shortlisting business schools, before or after taking the GMAT? Depends when you take the GMAT. Surabhi, if you are taking the GMAT, now, then of course your research needs to sort of happen, like it has to happen right now. Um, but if you have, let's say, taken, if you're planning to apply next year or the year after that, then you can research schools after you're taking the GMAT. You can focus on GMAT, which is why I think 1 or 2 years before, if you take the GMAT out of the way, it's always good. And the GMAT and GRE scores are valid for 5 years. So I think you're good over there. So I've answered this live. When should we start preparing for the application? Aishwarya, there's a slide which I sort of shared earlier on. And when you see the recording, you will see that. Ideally, you should start thinking about an MBA 2 years ahead of time. And we're looking at someone with an average work experience of 4 to 5 years. Do business schools take older applicants? Of course they do. But at the end of the day, the majority is, it's a bell curve. So 80% of the curve falls, in the 4 to 5 average experience sort of range. So consider where you are. And European programs take, more experienced applicants. Generally, there's, NCR does take people with 2 years of experience also. US schools generally tend to take younger applicants. So think where you are in the application journey. 2 years before, start planning about it. Plan when you want to take the standardized test out of the way. And I would say start preparing for an application 1 to 2 years in advance. In fact, starting this year, we put an early MBA planning, service in place. So we can help people, through that journey. What is it that they want to do? How they should think about those 2 years, 3 years? Because some really successful people I know have really started early and they've done very well for themselves. Right. I'm a CA working in investment banking. I plan to go for an MBA in 2024 and want to know whether CA plus BCom qualifies as 16 years of work education for WES or other application methods. Also, how many years of work experience do you recommend for top 15 MBA schools? Minimum 3 years of work experience post undergrad is what we generally recommend. Okay. That being said, do understand our next session in this webinar series is going to be about MBA, is going to be about resume, sorry. And resume is, by the way, a single most important component of your entire application. The first thing that an admissions officer will do is pick up your resume. So even if you have those 3 years, minimum 3 years, or how many ever years of work experience post undergrad, you need to make sure that that experience is top notch, because you're competing against very similar profiles, especially if you're a chartered accountant working in investment banking, right? So make sure at least your statistics are on point. That is your GMAT/GRE scores, and look at what is the quality of the application. CA plus BCom, whether it qualifies as 16 years of education, I do not think so. And this only holds true for some schools. Not all schools require 16 years. Okay, it is usually tied with the university requirements. I think Haas is one of the examples that comes to my mind. But I don't have any other schools at the top of my mind for that. CA, I believe, is now getting the status of, I think, postgraduate degree, but for 16 years, it's the undergraduate which really counts. Okay. All right. I want to do an MBA in business analytics in 2023 August. Can I join directly after my graduation without any job experience? If you want to do an MBA without a job experience, you should explore MIM programs, Vidya. MIM programs, and we can tell you more about our master's team. The postgraduate team can tell you more about it. They are, the master's team, by the way, at the Red Pen is also going to be running its own, a set of webinars. And I really, really encourage those of you who want to either consider MIM programs or who are considering master's programs, apart from just MBA programs, to register for that webinar series as well. You will find that on our website, www.theredpen.in. Okay. This is fine. Ma'am, I'm planning for MIM in 2023, but I'm still confused which test should I take, GRE or GMAT? I'm a fresher. I think you can take the GRE. I think it's fine. It will not, affect your admit. I don't think so. Okay, there are a lot of questions. There are about 40 more questions. I'm going to try my best to take as many questions in the next 7 minutes. Guys, if I'm not able to answer your questions, please click on this book an appointment. I just shared it. I'll share it once again. And then I'll be happy to speak with you one-on-one. I want to go for luxury brand management, and NYU is one of the best colleges for that, but the fee is more than 1 crore. So is it worth it? I just, shared on one of those slides that, when you consider cost of an MBA, it's not just your ability to pay, but it's also the willingness to pay. This is a decision, you have to make for yourself, honestly. If you want to go in luxury, brand management, you are talking, I'm assuming, we are talking about a world of Pradas and Louis Vuitton and Chanel's, right? So we are talking about the average cost of a handbag, probably $2,000 to $3,000. So compared to that, if those are the industries that you will work in, probably, you are getting paid as much post that MBA, right? If you have those kind of positions in these companies, then that 1 crore totally makes sense, because you are looking at a lifelong, returns. If you are, based on someone, if tomorrow Louis Vuitton prefers to hire, people in their brand marketing team who have done luxury brand management, and NYU Stern is a brand right up there with access to, some of the best brands in New York, then that opens doors and you are able to recoup your investment as well. Right? I hope that answers your question. Is there an ideal mix of experiences one should have to get into Columbia, Wharton, INSEAD? There is no one ideal. There is really no one ideal. And I would really like to speak with you. Share your resume with me in that book and appointment. I will copy this again. Yeah, just talk to me. I will talk to you one-on-one to see whether how your experiences kind of stacks up for these schools. Having a government job, it is by default a triple jump. How do you evaluate it? How to best get in touch with admissions officers? How to best get in touch with admissions officers? Sign up on the school websites for events, and they will keep inviting you for events, and attend those events, and you get a chance like this to talk to admissions officers. Having a government job, yeah, by default triple jump. So very good point. If you come from a non-business background and you're going to business school, to move to business side, the chances are that, you are looking for, definitely a role change and geography, role change and industry change. However, geography may not be a part of it. So you may try to keep in the triple jumper, you may try to keep one aspect out and say that, I want to come back to my home country. So that's still safe. If that's, if an international jump is possible, then why not, right? How would you evaluate it? I usually recommend, if you come from non-business backgrounds, do some pre-MBA coursework. Do courses like HBS Core, MBA Math. There are courses, I believe, at pre-MBA courses at UCLA. That definitely helped her application in a top 10 school in US. There are students from humanities background with no math prep. Are they eligible to apply for a US MBA? Absolutely. The good part is, there is no one set criteria for business school, which is a good thing, but it's also, not such a good thing, because you still have to make sure that your profile is attractive for business school, because you'll be sitting in a business school classroom and contributing to conversations. And no professor, it's a classroom-led discussion, whether it's a case style or lecture method. It's still driven by classroom discussions, and the school is not going to want anyone sitting in the class not having anything to contribute, right? And a business is made up of people and processes, and there is economics, there's marketing, there's a whole lot of things. So humanities background, totally fine. Right. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through all these questions. I'm an engineer working since past 11 months. I'm planning for 2023 or later. What extracurricular should I focus on? Since I don't have a leadership role in my job, will it affect my profile? What can I do to improve? So because it's an average 4 to 5 years of work experience, many people do not have leadership experiences in the traditional sense that they don't have people reporting to them. That does not mean that you cannot demonstrate leadership. Leadership can be project leadership as well, right? Leadership can be thought leadership, right? Leadership can be what you did in a particular situation to help a peer. Did you step up? right? If there was a conflict, how did you resolve it? How did you negotiate? How did you make decisions? And when you were faced with an ethical dilemma, what kind of governance decisions did you make? That all demonstrate leadership. So when we work with you and we are explaining your leadership brand, that is something we will definitely help you to understand how to kind of develop your leadership profile. What extracurricular should I focus on? There's no one thing, but another point which we heard again at the AGAC conference from admissions officers is when it comes to extracurriculars, please focus on quality over quantity. It has to be meaningful. It has to make sense in the sense why is it motivating for you, right? If you prefer to, in terms of community work, if you prefer to work with cancer patients and not underprivileged kids, why is that? Is there some reason why you prefer one over the other, right? I hope that answers your question. How is past international exposure considered in an applicant's profile by most schools in the UK and Europe? US undergrad work experience with clients in Europe, it's definitely taken into consideration, Trishila, sorry. It definitely matters, because at the end of the day, they are trying to put a diverse class together. When they are putting a diverse class together, it's they want people with varied backgrounds. So if you are an Indian applicant, Indian international applicant, someone with an Indian passport but still living in another country, you will be compared against other international applicants. And if you have a US undergrad, international work experience, that will definitely play in your favor. A follow-up on the earlier question, is it not advisable for me to apply in 2023, rather apply? I guess, we can, I would say that, you can just book an appointment with us. I'm happy to speak with you. Just mention this webinar and say that, I told you to contact me so we can speak. I have 10 years of work experience and I'm planning to give my GMAT in July this year and try for fall of 2023. Should I parallelly work on the application? Not required. If you're, okay, when you say try for fall of 2023, Sunita, I assume, or rather, I don't know whether you're applying in the fall of 2023 or you're applying in fall 2022 for fall 2023 intake, right? So if you're applying now, definitely I think you should start working on your applications. We do have people working with us, who are yet to take their GMAT, but that's a risk sort of you take. But it's high time. I mean, we are literally at the end of May and we are looking at June, July, August, 3 months. So applications will start September 7th with Howard Business School. So, round one is quite close. Next month, all applications will open, all schools will announce the essay topics and applications will open, right? So yes, if you are, in spite of the fact that, you have a GMAT or GRE test outstanding, if you're seriously planning to apply now, you should be already working on your applications. I am planning for deferred MBA program. What kind of internships or work experience should I go for? 1 second. Deferred MBA programs, what kind of internships or work experience should I go for? And when should I start this process if I'm in my first year of undergraduate? There is no one thing, but what I would do, again, whether it's deferred MBA or regular, I would not go helter-skelter and try to show that, how amazing I am, in everything. You do apply yourself in different ways, for sure. Schools like Harvard Business School are definitely looking for, multiple ways in which you're applying yourself and not just one particular way. But look for something which is meaningful and that is adding to your profile, right? It's stacking up. You're not sort of, just spreading yourself too thin and not gaining any skill set anywhere. Also look at your post MBA goals. If you are, looking for a deferred MBA program, this is a discussion we have with all our applicants for deferred MBA. There's a webinar, by the way, I did on deferred MBA applicants, which is again on our YouTube channel. Okay, the Red Pen's YouTube channel. Please go and watch that. Do top schools in UK or Europe provide placement assistance to executive MBAs? Yes, all business schools provide placement assistance, in the sense all of them have, career coaches and, that basically help you, career, facilities and everything that basically help you. All schools do that for all MBAs, irrespective of the format of the MBA. Okay, thank you, Johan. Vishal, I have almost 9 years of experience. I work in the retail sector. I would like to pivot to e-commerce or retail at a larger scale. Should I go in for a 2-year or 1-year MBA? Either is fine. Either is fine. If you're working in retail and you're going to e-commerce, I assume it's just a tech piece which is sort of coming in. In that case, I would encourage you to look at the tech MBA programs at Cornell, NYU Stern, or Kellogg's MBAI program. Cornell and NYU Stern's programs are 12 months without an internship. Kellogg's is 15 months with an internship. So either is fine. And also depends, Vishal, how soon you want to get back to the workforce. If it's just the tools and resources and that you're looking for, then fine. But if you're like, I want international mobility, I want to live there, I want to work there, then a 2-year might make more sense, because 2-year MBA will also give you, that foray into tech. At the same time, you will have a longer time duration to make an international switch if that's something you're considering. Shakti, hi, thank you for the session. I had applied with a GMAT of 720 last year and could not make it to any of the college top 10 to 25. I have international work experience in construction field. Should I take the GRE while doing a PMP work? I'm surprised that, from 10 to 25 schools, a 710 GMAT does not. I think the GMAT score of 710 is absolutely fine. I know someone with a 700 GMAT who went to Fuqua. I know someone with a 710 GMAT, worked with us, who went to Wharton. So I don't think it's the GMAT is the problem, Shakti. I mean, if you see on the screen, my email address is right there. Just send me an email with your profile, with your resume, with your some of your applications last year, and mention this webinar. I'll be happy to chat with you. Okay. What is the typical trend of hiring in specific sectors or industries from top schools? Go and look at the employment reports on each of the schools. Could you please share your email ID or phone number? I think my email ID is here on the screen. So, you can take that. I recently switched jobs to Big Four after a family CA practice experience. I'm planning to apply this year. May not be able to get an LOR from my current employer. How badly? Yeah, okay, LORs, letters of recommendation. Tanya, we are going to do an entire session on letters of recommendation, and we will cover this. So, make sure you bring your question to that session. There will be an LOR specialist from our team who will talk to you about this. I'm a chartered accountant, first attempt, congratulations. Female, have 8 years of experience, worked in the Big Four, and I have 2 promotions. Is my profile good for a top B school? Yes, it's a very good profile. Ma'am, I'm planning for MIM in 2023, but I'm still confused which test. I think GRE or GMAT. I think I answered this question. Just take the GRE. It's fine. Or what you can also do is, if you're considering your masters, do write to me. I'm happy to connect you with our postgraduate team at the Red Pen. Which are the good ones for entrepreneurial journey? So more or less every school will provide you resources for entrepreneurship. Every school. Entrepreneurship and consulting is something you will get at every school, and every school does churn out a good amount of entrepreneurs, and they have good amount of resources also for entrepreneurs, incubator opportunities as well. Though Babson is one of my favorites. Just look at Babson as a school. In some of the top schools, I would not pick one over the other. Many are good for entrepreneurship. Can I apply with retail experience into M7? Of course, why not? Yeah, why not? Can you explain if 1-year MBA program in the US is as effective as a 2-year MBA program? With a career change be possible? So if you're going for a career change, again, think about that triple jumper thing. You're changing geography, industry, job role, or all of the 3, or one of the 3, or 2 of the 3. Think about that when you consider the length. In a 1-year MBA program, if you're very clear about the resources of the program, how are you going to take advantage? You have a plan in place, go for the 1 year. If you're like, I'm exploring, consider the 2-year. How important is brand association for the application? I'm working in a very fulfilling role right now, but it's not a big brand. I can move to a brand, but then will I have to compromise on the job profile? What would your advice be? I would not choose a brand over, a strong role, right? Because many folks, for example, apply from McKinsey, Bain, BCG, and it's a hard, time for them to differentiate their profile from others. Very, very differentiate. So I would say, don't just chase brands for the sake of it. Don't just do that. Okay. Okay. What is the minimum score you think I should target for the Ivy Leagues? At the very minimum, if you're targeting M7 schools, I would say do not score. A minimum score that you can look at is 720. and this is a GMAT. Your experience with Canadian MBA institutes, which is a better option for scholarship opportunities, Canada or US. Anything. It depends on how strong your profile is to the average profile of the particular school. And is the school enticed to give you scholarship purely based on the strength of your application? So that will depend on the strength of your profile and your school selection. You know, if you apply to more safety schools, then chances of you getting a scholarship are very high. Would a recommendation from a student currently at these schools help? Not really. So I had read this somewhere that having family or recommendations, I think it may sort of help at an undergraduate level. At the graduate level, just having legacy at a particular school is for business school, it doesn't help. Ma'am, thanks for the session. I missed the first few minutes. Will you upload the recording of this video to YouTube? Yes, we will be recording this video link to the YouTube. You will also get an email with the recording, so watch out for that email and do watch that. All right, everyone, I think we are about the time and I still have 30 more questions. I'm not going to be able to take that in a couple of minutes. So I would encourage all of you whose questions I was not able to answer. I would like to speak with each one of you. My email is on the screen. You can just take a screenshot or a screen grab and do contact me, book an appointment and just, I will be happy mention this webinar and I will be happy to speak with you directly. All right, everyone, you have a wonderful evening and great rest of the weekend. And I look forward to hearing from you and answering your questions one-on-one. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.